Mr. Nyck, Mr. Nyck, he's our pick. It's Mr. Nyck. Yay!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Mr. Nyck Show, and I'm your host, Mr. Nyck. Today, we are going to be talking about my favorite top 10 snakes. And if you saw the episode about my favorite top 10 reptiles, then you saw that the snake was number 4 on my list of favorite reptiles. But with over 3,600 types of snakes, I wanted to talk about which ones were my top 10 favorites. Are you ready? All right, let's do it. Starting off with the number 10 snake on my list is the California Kingsnake. The California Kingsnake is non-venomous, which means that it has no venom or poison that it injects if it bites something. The California Kingsnake is found in the western United States and northern Mexico. And it is also one of the most common snakes for those who have pet snakes. So, if you wanted a pet snake, the California Kingsnake might be a good option. Now, they can get up to 3 or 4 feet long and sometimes even 6 feet long. But they can go about a week or week and a half without eating. When they eat, it's usually enough to fill up their tummies for at least a week. So that also makes it a pretty good pet. Alright, that's my number 10 pick for my favorite snake, the California Kingsnake. Next is the number 9 snake on my list of favorite snakes, and it's the Belcher's sea snake. That's kind of a crazy thing to think of a snake that can swim, but actually, all snakes have the ability to swim. The Belcher sea snake does have venom, but they're typically timid snakes. They're not very aggressive. They'll only bite if they really feel threatened. Or, of course, if they're hungry and they're looking to eat. Out of the water, the Belcher sea snake has a tan or yellow look to its color, but in the water, it has a little bit of a bluish color. So the water reflects off of the Belcher sea snake and makes it look blue when it's in water, which probably helps camouflage it from other animals. And the Belcher sea snake does breathe oxygen. So even though he swims, he's just like every other snake in the fact that he does need oxygen in order to breathe. And like I said, all snakes can swim, but a lot of them don't because they don't live near water. But the Belcher sea snake does, and I think he's really cool, and he's the number 9 snake on my list. And moving on to the number 8 snake on my list is the Garter Snake. The Garter Snake is located throughout almost all of North America, and it is a very common snake to see. They used to be considered non-venomous. However, in the early 2000s, it was discovered that they do produce a neurotoxic venom. But it is very mild, and it is not threatening to a human if the Garter Snake was to bite a human. They do not have fangs either, which is usually how snakes inject people or animals with venom. So even though the Garter Snake was once thought to not have venom, but now we know that it does, it's still really not that dangerous to humans. And another thing that the Garter Snake does that I think is really neat is it can produce a very bad smell that it can discharge towards predators. So you know, like a skunk can make a very bad smell come out of it to make you want to get away. The Garter Snake can do something very similar to make other predators who may want to eat it go bye-bye. That's the Garter Snake, and it's number 8 on my list of favorite snakes. The number 7 snake on my list is a Chrysopelea, also known as a flying snake or a gliding snake. Did I just say a flying snake? What? Well, that's how it made it on my list. Now, it doesn't actually fly like a bird, but it climbs up trees, and then it goes and it hangs off of a branch, and then it thrusts itself away from the tree into the air. It forms a C-shaped position. It makes a slithering motion while in midair, which is called lateral undulation. And that helps it glide in the air, so it can kind of control where it's going and how fast it's falling. And then right before it lands, it lowers its tail to soften the landing, kind of like an airplane landing on its back wheels, and that way it can land safely and not get hurt. That is a flying snake, also known as a Chrysopelea, and that is my 7th snake on the list of favorite snakes. And moving on to the number 6 snake on my list is a Boa Constrictor. A boa constrictor is usually a large snake that can be up to 13 feet long, depending on what type of subspecies it is. A boa constrictor has no venom, so if it bites, it is not poisonous. And the girl boa constrictors are larger than the boy boa constrictors. Now, boa constrictors are found in South America, and a lot of times people who have pet snakes will have a boa constrictor. It's a common pet for those who want a pet snake. Now, boas are known for squeezing its food before it eats it. But they do actually bite their prey first to stun them, to hurt them, before squeezing it. And when boa constrictors eat, they eat their food whole, like all snakes, but they can unhinge their jaw and fit in very, very big animals that you would not expect to be able to fit into a snake's mouth. And because they can fit such large animals into their mouths and their tummies, it can take up to 4 to 6 days to fully digest a meal. Digest means your body takes in the meal to its stomach and fully processes it for all the nutrients that it has. And because boa constrictors can eat such large meals, sometimes they can go up to 1 week to even several months without eating a meal. Could you imagine not eating for like 2 or 3 months? Well, I guess if you just ate a whole deer, maybe that would keep you satisfied. Well, anyways, that's a boa constrictor, and it's the number 6 snake on my list. And now the top 5. The number 5 snake on my list of favorite snakes is the black mamba. The black mamba is almost 10 feet long generally, which means that it is the second longest venomous snake in the world. And it can lift up to 40% of its body upwards off the ground. So that means it can lift its body up off the ground and be 4 feet tall. Also, the black mamba delivers a lot of venom when it bites. It is one of the most venomous bites of all snakes. And it is the second fastest snake behind the sidewinder. The black mamba can travel 7.5 miles per hour. So with the combination of how fast the black mamba can travel and how venomous its bite is, the black mamba is one of the most dangerous snakes in the entire world, and it is number 5 on my list of favorite snakes. The number 4 snake on my list is a viper. A viper is a venomous snake with long hinged fangs. And those fangs can get really deep when it bites and inject venom into whatever it is biting. Now, a viper can bite without releasing venom, but if it's looking for food, it's going to release venom so that it can get that meal that it's looking for. Vipers are known for having triangular shaped heads. And what's interesting about vipers is that they don't actually go looking for food. When a viper is hungry, it will go to where it expects a meal, another animal, to be, and it waits. And it waits for that animal to show up, and when it shows up, the viper is there ready to attack, and that is how vipers find their food. That is the viper, and it is number 4 on my list of favorite snakes. Here we are moving into the top 3 on my list, and number 3 is a cobra. The cobra lives in Asia and Africa. Now, I said a viper has hinged fangs, which means they can actually fold back against the roof of their mouth. The cobra's fangs cannot fold back, so they are a little bit shorter than the viper's fangs. The cobra is known for having what is called a hood. That's that area around the neck that expands out. That's what cobras are usually known for. Those are neck ribs that the cobra can expand out, which can help scare off predators, other animals that may hurt it. Cobras are also known for being able to stand upright, kind of like the black mamba I said could stand 40% of its body upright. That would make it 4 feet tall. Well, a cobra can lift as much as 33% of its body upright. A king cobra, which is the longest venomous snake, can be up to 18 feet long. So if an 18-foot long snake can lift 33% of its body upright, then that means a king cobra in front of you on the ground could stand upright to be 6 feet tall. Could you imagine a king cobra in front of you standing 6 feet tall? That's taller than most humans. And if that's not scary enough, a cobra can also spit venom into the eyes of its attackers. So a cobra can spit venom at you, and if it gets into your eyes, that could be very dangerous. You don't even have to be bit by a cobra in order for it to hurt you. That's how crazy a cobra is, and it is the number 3 snake on my list. The number 2 snake on my list is a rattlesnake. A rattlesnake is a venomous snake that is known for the rattle that they have on the end of their tail. A rattlesnake will shake the rattle and make a noise to warn any potential predators that they are there and they are dangerous. A rattlesnake is actually a type of pit viper, which is a subspecies of the viper snake that we already talked about. Rattlesnakes live throughout North, Central, and South America. Rattlesnakes can smell with their nose, and they can also use their tongue. They stick their tongue out of their mouth and they pull back small little particles that have scent on them. And then they have an organ inside their mouth that can take those particles and help them smell what is outside. Another interesting thing about rattlesnakes is that a lot of reptiles lay eggs that their babies hatch from. But rattlesnakes carry their eggs inside of them and they deliver live babies. So little baby rattlesnakes are delivered instead of eggs being laid. That is the rattlesnake, and that is the number 2 snake on my list of favorite snakes. And here we are to the number 1 snake on my list of favorite snakes. And the number 1 snake is a python. I really like pythons. They are similar to the boa constrictor. And a lot of times pythons make a good pet if you're looking to have a snake that is a pet. Now, pythons live in warm climates in the eastern hemisphere of the world. There are 10 species of pythons, and the reticulated python is the largest snake in the world. The largest, longest snake of any kind is a reticulated python, and they can be around 30 feet long. Pythons are non-venomous. That is probably a reason why they make a good pet. And, like a constrictor, they squeeze food. They squeeze their prey before they eat it. Now, something that I think is interesting is that, like I said, pythons are found normally in the eastern hemisphere of the world. However, There are Burmese pythons in the Florida Everglades. How is that possible? Well, somebody probably had a Burmese python, or maybe a couple, as pets. And then, for whatever reason, they let them go in the Everglades, and the pythons were able to survive and have baby pythons. So there are pythons living in the wild in the United States. That's pretty amazing. I think the python is an amazing snake, and the reticulated python is the largest snake in the world, and that is why the python is number 1 on my list of my favorite snakes. Well, there it is. That's my list of my top 10 favorite snakes. I hope you had fun, and if you liked it, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. And hit subscribe so you see all of the other great episodes we're doing on the Mr. Nyck Show. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye!
Mr. Nyck, he's our pig. It's Mr. Nyck. Yay!